So let's resume our study. So we are talking that in salicylate intoxication, alkalemia from respiratory alkalosis is not a contraindication to sodium bicarbonate therapy. Okay, aspirin poison patient commonly present with arterial pH between 7.5 to 7.55. These patients should be treated with sodium bicarbonate. Blood gas analysis every 2 hours is indicated for monitoring to prevent severe alkalemia. A urine pH 7.5 to 8 is desirable, although this may be difficult to obtain in salicylate poison patients, particularly in the setting of intravascular volume deficits and whole body potassium depletion. Okay? Concurrent alkalinization of the urine is also beneficial by increasing salicylate excretion. Since the salicylate anion is highly protein bound, it enters urine primarily through secretion by organic anion secretory pathway in the proximal tubule rather than by glomerular filtration. Alkalinization of the urine converts salicylic acid into salicylate ion, thereby minimizing the back diffusion of secreted salicylic acid from the tubular lumen back into the renal epithelium and ultimately the systemic circulation. As an example, raising the urine pH from 6.5 to 8.1 by administration of sodium bicarbonate can increase total salicylate excretion more than 5-fold. Okay. IV fluids are needed to correct dehydration and maintain urine output. Initial fluid resuscitation is performed with isotonic saline, usually at rate of 10 to 15 ml per kg per hour for first 2 to 3 hours, and is then titrated to maintain urine output between 1 to 2 ml per kg per hour. Okay. We do not suggest administration of excessive IV fluids beyond restoration of normal fluid balance, that is post-diuresis, nor do we use diuretics because of the excretion of salicylate depends upon pH, not on the urine flow rate. In addition, patients with salicylate poisoning are at risk of pulmonary edema and may not tolerate excess fluids. Acetazolamide is contraindicated. Okay, in the standard management of salicylate poisoning. Acetazolamide alkalinizes urine by reducing bicarbonate reabsorption. While this does enhance salicylate excretion, bicarbonate loss from the plasma lowers arterial pH, which promotes salicylate movement into the brain, potentially worsening salicylate neurotoxicity. I hope you understood the mechanism. What is the mechanism of acetazolamide? Alkalinizes by the urine by reducing bicarbonate reabsorption. Okay, and while this does enhance salicylate excretion, the bicarbonate loss from the plasma lowers the arterial pH, and which promotes salicylate movement into the brain, thus potentially worsening salicylate neurotoxicity. And aspirin poison patients requires frequent laboratory testing to assess both clinical status and response to therapy. A salicylate concentration and blood gas will be drawn every 1 to 2 hours until both the serum salicylate concentration is falling and acid-base status is stable or improving for 2 consecutive measurements. Urine pH and serum potassium should be checked hourly. So hourly check urine pH and serum potassium. Ideally, blood gas measurements are taken from arterial source. Venous samples can substitute until an arterial line is placed to ensure close monitoring and avoid multiple painful arterial punctures. And now we are going to talk about hemodialysis. So, indication of hemodialysis: altered mental status. One is altered mental status. 2. Pulmonary edema associated with respiratory distress and requiring supplemental oxygen. 3. Cerebral edema. 4. Acute or chronic kidney injury. Chronic kidney injury sufficient to impair salicylate elimination. A number of thresholds may be used to determine such kidney injury, including serum creatinine greater than 2 in average adult, okay, or greater than 1.5 in elderly or patients with low muscle mass, GFR less than 45, okay, per ml per minute per 1.73 square meter body surface area, okay, and fluid overload that prevents the administration of sodium bicarbonate. So if there is fluid overload and we can't administer sodium bicarb, then also patient should undergo hemodialysis. A markedly elevated serum salicylate concentration in acute overdose and in patient having renal function, normal renal function, okay. So markedly raised salicylate concentration means like greater than 90 mg per deciliter in patients with normal renal function and greater than 80 mg per deciliter in patients with impaired renal function. Or if pH is less than 7.2, then we directly go for hemodialysis. Clinical deterioration despite aggressive and appropriate supportive care, and consultation with nephrology service would occur early in a patient's course even in absence of immediate need for acute hemodialysis. Altering the nephrologist early in the patient's course will facilitate hemodialysis, okay, in the event that patient deteriorates despite aggressive and appropriate supportive care. And continuous renal replacement therapy is not an appropriate substitute for hemodialysis when treating the salicylate poisoned patient. Salicylate clearance using modern hemodialysis equipment is several times that of the continuous renal replacement therapy, and continuous renal replacement therapy cannot correct acid base or electrolyte abnormality that often accompany severe salicylate poisoning. Continuous renal replacement therapy may be used to increase salicylate clearance marginally in rare circumstances when continuous renal replacement therapy is available but hemodialysis is not, or when hemodialysis is absolutely contraindicated. However, it must be emphasized that continuous renal replacement therapy is vastly inferior to hemodialysis under almost any circumstances. Treatment and continued diagnostic testing is no longer necessary when the patient has clinically improved, their acid-base status has normalized, and blood salicylate concentration, salicylate level is no longer in the toxic range. So let's do rapid overview of salicylate poisoning. So what are the clinical and lab features? So common are tachypnea, tinnitus, nausea, vomiting, acid base abnormalities, and in severe cases hyperthermia, altered mental status, pulmonary edema, okay, and diagnostic evaluation: plasma salicylate concentration, ABG, basic electrolytes, BUN, creatinine, chest X-ray. Repeat salicylate concentration every 2 hours until it is declining, and repeat ABG every 2 hours until acid base status is stable or improving. And in treatment, avoid intubation if at all possible. Avoid intubation. Administer supplemental oxygen as needed. Volume resuscitate unless cerebral or pulmonary edema is present, and administer multiple dose of activated charcoal. Administer supplemental glucose in patients with altered mental status even if serum glucose concentration is normal, okay, and alkalinize with sodium bicarbonate. Bolus therapy: sodium bicarbonate 1 to 2 milli equivalent per kg. IV push over 3 to 5 minutes, and maintenance therapy is 100 to 150 milli equivalent sodium bicarbonate in 1 liter of D5W, okay, run at 250 ml per hour in adults, or run at 1.5 to 2 times maintenance in children. And correct hypokalemia, hypocalcemia, okay, and other electrolyte abnormalities as well. And IV sodium bicarbonate is not compatible with calcium salts, okay, so you should not mix IV bicarbonate and calcium salts. Alkalemia: arterial pH up to 7.55 is not a contraindication to sodium bicarbonate. I think pictures is blurring, so I am lowering the camera a little bit so that it will be clear. I think it is now clear, okay. And do not use acetazolamide to alkalinize the urine because it causes neurotoxicity. And alert nephrology team early in the patient's clinical course and indication of hemodialysis are profoundly altered mental status, pulmonary or cerebral edema, okay, renal insufficiency that interferes with salicylate excretion, fluid overload that prevents administration of sodium bicarbonate, and salicylate concentration greater than 100 mg per deciliter in acute ingestion or greater than 60 mg per deciliter in chronic ingestion, and clinical deterioration despite aggressive and appropriate supportive care. Okay, so let's summarize again. Salicylate poisoning remains a significant clinical problem, and fatal aspirin intoxication can occur after ingestion of 10 to 30 gram by adults and as little as 3 gram by children. So early recognition is key to successful management. A diagnosis must be considered in any patient with suspected drug overdose and in those with unexplained increase in anion gap. Diagnosis is made on the basis of history, physical examination, acid-base findings. Okay. A variety of acid-base abnormal disturbance can occur with salicylate poisoning. Most adults have either primary respiratory alkalosis or mixed respiratory alkalosis and primary metabolic acidosis. Therapeutic serum salicylate concentrations are 10 to 30 mg per deciliter. Value above 40 mg per deciliter may be associated with toxicity. In patients with clinical signs of salicylate poisoning, serum concentration should be measured every 2 hours. Okay, until two consecutive levels show a continuing decrease from the peak measurement. The most recent concentration falls below 40 mg per deciliter and patient is asymptomatic with normal respiratory rate and effort. Okay, and chronic salicylate intoxication is often misdiagnosed and high index of suspicion is needed. And intubation of aspirin poison patient is dangerous and should be avoided if at all possible. When intubation is necessary due to primary respiratory failure, care must be taken to ensure appropriately high minute ventilation. Okay, and maintain alkalemia with pH 7.5 to 7.59. And all adults with salicylate poisoning and clinical signs of toxicity should be treated with alkalinization of the serum and urine. Alkalinization is the mainstay of therapy and using of sodium bicarbonate. Details I have already discussed, so I won't go in more detail now. It is just summary. And early nephrology consultation should be obtained and hemodialysis considered for all patients with clinical evidence of severe intoxication. Aspirin poisoned patient may be hypotensive. Aggressive volume resuscitation is warranted unless cerebral edema or pulmonary edema is present. Hypotensive patients who do not respond to fluid resuscitation can be treated with vasopressors like norepinephrine. Aspirin intoxication may decrease several glucose concentration despite normal serum glucose. Therefore, adults with salicylate poisoning who are hypoglycemic or manifest alteration in mental status regardless of their serum glucose concentration be treated with supplemental glucose. Okay, that's all.